Welcome to this video on understanding the technical reports from Trading Central. This video is brought to you by Alpari US. My name's John Jagerson. Before we get started, let's do a quick review as to how to find the technical reports on the Alpari US website. First, we'll go to Alpari Academy in the main menu, and in the submenu we'll select Technical Reports. To access the most recent reports, you'll have to log in here. You can find the most recent technical reports listed below. Let's select one of these and start walking through each component of the report. In order to make this analysis as practical as possible, I'm going to be taking the information that we see item by item here in the technical report and transposing some of it to our charts in the MetaTrader 4 trading application. This should help put the information in perspective, and new technical analysts may find that doing this on an ongoing basis really helps you to understand how technical analysis is done and how to plan for new trading opportunities. The first piece of information that we're interested in each technical report is the trend information. There's two trend arrows, as you can see here at the top. The first is the 1 week trend with an arrow pointed up and slightly to the right. This indicates that there is some limited upside in the very short term, so approximately over the next week. This green arrow could have been pointing straight up, which would have indicated significant upside potential. It also could have been pointing horizontal or down, indicating a consolidation or downtrend potential, respectively. The 1 month trend indicates what the Trading Central analysts expect from prices in the intermediate term or the midterm, meaning where do they think prices are likely to go over the next month period. As you can see here, the arrow is pointing up and slightly to the right, indicating some limited upside potential. This arrow could also have been pointing straight up, indicating very strong upside potential, horizontal indicating a consolidation, slightly down and to the right, indicating limited downside potential, or straight down, indicating strong downside potential. If we shift gears here just a bit and take a look at the same chart on the MetaTrader 4 trading application, you can see that the short-term trend projection based on a 30-minute chart, which is the same chart that we're going to see illustrated a little bit later in the technical report, is anticipating a short-term bounce to the upside. Similarly, we can switch to a daily chart and get a little bit more perspective about where the midterm trend is expected to go, which in this case slightly to the upside, which is in line with the prior long-term trend. The next piece of information in the technical report is a detail of the bias. As you can see here, the Euro-USD intraday, a continuation of the uptrend or rebound is expected, as well as the pivot level. This is that level at which the projection is based on. What this means is that if prices are generally above the pivot level, they're going to be bullish. If prices break that pivot level as support, some downside is likely. In fact, from a certain point of view, you could use the pivot level as a stop-loss level for long positions. We can add that pivot level to our chart by selecting the horizontal line tool and applying it at that pivot level, which is about 48.70. You can actually refine your trend line analysis or location by clicking on the line, right-clicking, selecting horizontal line properties, and then identifying exactly where you would like that to be. So in this case, I want it to be at exactly 1.487, exactly where that pivot level has been identified in the technical report. I've zoomed out here just a bit to illustrate where this pivot level fits historically speaking. So as you can see, it essentially bisects several important pivots where the market has shifted from a downtrend into an uptrend. This has been a very psychologically important level over the last month. From a short-term perspective, we can assume that if prices are above this level, which currently they are, we're going to be looking for bullish opportunities. If prices break below this level as support, then we know that there's been an important shift in trader sentiment out there, and we may start looking for some downside potential, at least in the short term. Back to the trading report, let's move on to the next piece of information. In this case, the analyst is saying our preference for long positions above the 1.487, that's the pivot level, which we saw up here, with targets at 1.5 and 1.5055 in extension. These are levels that we could be interested in as potential profit targets. You can see these levels on the 30-minute chart below as green horizontal lines. There's also a third key projection level here at 1.51. I've just taken a minute to transfer each of those three key levels to my live 30-minute chart of the Euro USD on the MetaTrader 4 application. From here I can start to get some perspective for what the trade potential is, at least in the short term. Let's move a little further down the list. The next piece of information details what the analyst expects if a significant change in investor sentiment really does happen and prices break support. As you can see here, in the alternative scenario, if prices were to break the 1.487 support level or pivot, look for further downside with 1.4825 and 1.475 as targets. You can see each of those two key targets detailed below on the chart. I've also transferred those levels with the horizontal tool onto my live 30-minute charts of the Euro USD on the MetaTrader 4 trading application. I can create some estimates that if prices were to break support at 48.70, I'd be looking for downside potential at 48.25 or even 47.50. Evaluating both the preferred scenario, which in this case is to the upside, as well as the alternative scenario to the downside, is a great way to make sure that I'm planning ahead as much as possible. Next on my technical report is some technical commentary. The technical commentary will quite often address the information being provided by the three typical trading or technical indicators applied to the chart. You can see them here as a 50-period moving average, the blue line, a Bollinger Bands applied on the chart with a 20-period moving average, and an RSI, a 14-period RSI. We can transfer these technical indicators to our chart by using the Add Indicator button on the main menu of MetaTrader 4 trading application. I've now applied all three of those to my trading application. One of the comments made was about a bullish divergence between the RSI, which you can see here. The RSI has been making shallower lows at the same time that prices have been making deeper lows. This is a bullish divergence and indicates that there's some limited opportunity to the upside. Those key levels, both projections and pivots, are then repeated on the technical report here. And there's also a little additional information that's been drawn graphically on the chart. Let me point out a couple of things. The blue arrow here illustrates the analyst's bullish bias, and these blue lines here indicate the primary trading channel. You could also repeat that trend line, or both trend lines from that primary trading channel on the charts in the MetaTrader 4 trading application. As you can see here, I've repeated the top line using the trend line tool. Because the technical reports are based on a 30-minute time frame, or rather a chart with 30-minute periods, the information is fairly timely. One of the key levels designated last, right here, will give you some idea as to what was the last price when the report was generated. You can compare this with where prices are right now to make sure that too much time hasn't passed since the report was issued. Here are a few key things to keep in mind when you're reading a technical report. First, it's a great way to generate some good ideas, but ultimately trading decisions are only yours. Make sure that any positions you take are in line with your overall trading objectives and risk tolerance. Number two, try to integrate the information that you have available to you in the trading report with your live charts on the MetaTrader 4 application. It'll help you to evaluate potential opportunities with some perspective, and it will improve your technical analysis skills. Finally, stay up to date. New reports are issued all the time. As key levels are changed, you may wish to take some action with your own trades or look for new opportunities.